ego. So a man cannot live without worship. So the warning that Noah gave to his people was that worship you must. That I know. But I warn you that do not worship anybody but Allah. Because if you worship anyone but Allah, you will be led to destruction. Now here is a very interesting here is a very interesting observation which we must follow in further detail, because in the modern times we have come across certain allegations against the concept of God by the modern academicians, I should say, in the name of various philosophies, particularly those who are related to the subject of anthropology, how man developed, and also the subject of sociology, how social systems develop, and also those connected with the subject of scientific socialism. They know that from all these branches of sciences, an attack has been made on the concept of God by emphasizing that God is a creation of man. Because everywhere in the world, wherever you look, some sort of God has been created. And whichever age you study, right from the start till the modern times, you always come across some sort of idea of God taking hold of human imagination, catching human fancy. So they believe, these scientists and these philosophers, that man is the creator of his God. It is not vice versa. It is not that God created man, but God has been created by man. Now, as far as this tendency is concerned, the Holy Quran does not deny it. Only the inference which they draw is rejected by the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran looks at the same facts from a different angle altogether and draws a completely different conclusion. The fact that Allah has created man, according to the Holy Quran, has left a deep stamp upon man, reminding him that he is not his Lord. He is not by himself. He is not independent. He is answerable to some being. There is some superior being responsible for his creation. So he must bow to that superior being. That inbred idea is the nature of man. Unless he is guided by Allah himself, that you worship me, he will follow his nature, and wherever his nature leads him, he would be led and would try to create a God for himself because of that innate desire in him to worship someone. If that desire was not created in him, he would never seek any religion or never be ready to bow to any God in worship, because it entails encumbrances. It also creates responsibilities on the man who worships someone else. It's not an easy task. So desire it is all right, but the desire in itself is calling to difficult responsibilities which are not easily discharged. So this is the dilemma which has to be solved by us. On the one hand, the irreligious people, when they look at the same facts, they find a common tendency in man, wherever he is, whenever he was, to worship someone. And because of this general observation, they conclude that man is creating his gods. But why he should? Why should he at all? There is no answer to that question. General observation is correct. But this theory has a hollowness in itself. There is a flaw in it, that there is no reason why man should do it all over the world. So unnecessary. But the religion tells us that this is so because there is actually a creator. And there being a creator, it had to be. I mean, as we see things, there was no alternative. So if there were a creator, it was impossible for man not to be born with a desire to worship. Otherwise, there will be no point in establishing, no reason how a bridge could be created between the creator and the man. There must be some foothold on the man's side to hold that bridge. That foothold is provided in his nature, in that desire that he must worship someone. So the Surah Fatiha tells us, of course, this is your desire. But we also warn you that without seeking help from the true God, you will not automatically be led to the God worthy of worship. A desire is born and you may follow that desire blindly into regions which are not fruitful, which may even prove destructive to you. So the whole necessity of praying to Allah for assistance and ultimately being led to the prophets. And when we are led to the prophets, the first positive mention is made in Noah's admonition about worship. And he takes up the subject from where we left in Surah Fatiha. What Hadhrat Noah is telling us is very clearly what I have already concluded from Surah Fatiha, that I warn you that if you do not worship the right God, you are bound to worship the wrong gods. And against that wrong worship I am warning you. Because worship by itself is not the object of your creation. To worship the right person or the right being is the object of your creation. So the same innate desire in you to worship may lead you to destruction. So the necessity of prophets, the most important task they have to come to perform, is not only to remind us of our duties to our Lord, to worship Him, but to warn us to direct our worship and keep its bearing correct. Otherwise, we may be one of the losers instead of gaining anything from this worship. Now this issue of worship is repeated one after the other in case of every prophet. The Holy Quran goes on telling us, وَإِبْرَاهِيمَ إِذْ قَالَ لِقَوْمِهِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاتَّقُوهُ ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. The same message is repeated by Ibrahim. وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِسْمَاعِيلَ إِنَّهُ كَانَ صَادِقَ الْوَعْدِ وَكَانَ رَسُولًا نَبِيًّا وَكَانَ يَأْمُرُ أَهْلَهُ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ وَكَانَ عِندَ رَبِّهِ مَرْضِيًّا. Again, his admonition is that of worship. All prophets, one after the other, came for the prime purpose of emphasizing worship and teaching people how to worship God. وَإِلَىٰ عَادٍ أَخَاهُمْ هُودًا قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ أَفَلَا تَتَّقُونَ. Again, Ad repeated the same subject, the same admonition. He told his people, O my people, worship Allah and remember there is no God but He. Again the same warning that you may be led astray to worship other things, but we assure you there is no God but He. وَإِلَىٰ ثَمُودَ أَخَاهُمْ صَالِحًا قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ. Again the same subject is repeated with the same warning. And to Thamud we sent their brother Saleh. He said, O my people, worship Allah. You have no other deity but Him. Verily there has come to you a clear evidence from your Lord. وَإِلَى مَدْيَنَ أَخَاهُمْ شُعَيْبًا قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ. The same message, verbatim, is repeated. By prophets having been born in different places, in different regions of the earth, and having no direct relationship with those prophets, giving the same message